players. There's such an old school way of doing things, going back to old country music tours where you got the guys on the road and they were selling the souvenir books in the audience. Just some of that old school mentality, even though the reality doesn't exist anymore, I think the mentality lingers within the accountants in this town. And the accountants in this town have set, and there are exceptions to all of this, but there is a general framework for artists. Like if you're really big, you can hope to make this much money. If they're starting out, they're probably going to offer you, and it's a narrow range in my experience.
The term country money, I've heard that before. Well, you know, it's a country tour. So we're eating country food? And are we taking a country bus?
Everything's fried.
Should I wear country clothes? Should I talk country? Ridiculous.
Well, the point is even the country acts to start out maybe playing fairs and small theaters and stuff, and they work their way up, and you probably experience this right now, and you work your way up through that, and all of a sudden the artist is playing arenas, and they're making arena money, they're making rock and roll money, but there's an old school mentality here in Nashville with the accountants. So you can keep the band, you give them a little bump up, and what happens was, when artists expand, like start having a couple of big hits, they go from playing county fairs to state fairs, and from theaters to smaller arenas to bigger arenas. When they expand, it's nice to think as their money doubles, your money doubles. It's not going to happen. First of all, they have to hire a lot more people. That's what happens. And ideally, the money will keep up, and especially if you've been loyal and you're there from the beginning, when they start making the big bucks, you'll start making the big bucks. But I have been on arena tours where the artists were making rock and roll money, and they were still paying the bands. Old school hillbilly money. And then you make the call whether, well, is it still good enough to do it?
At the urging of their business.
Right, and
They're watching out for their clients, they can be most.
there's a status quo within all those business people that things have been done this way for a long time, and it takes, and there are some great, I mentioned Vince Gill and Faith Hill before, but they were like, I want the very best players I can get out here, and if they've been doing sessions, they're going to have to turn down master sessions. They're going to do this, I'm going to have to pay X amount of money, and some of these
It's a whole different economy.
they decided to do that, and I guarantee you they are also, at least at one meeting, are going over the recommendation for business.
Oh, absolutely.
And those exceptions are great, and I think they're gradually changing some perceptions, and more people come from outside of town. But it's an old school perception that hasn't entirely gone.